welcome to another episode of the Female Empowered Podcast. I'm your host, Krista Gurka, and thank you so much for joining me today. Just a little reminder that if you would prefer to watch your video, you can check this episode out on my YouTube channel, which is Krista Gurka. So you can go over there and you can check out the video. And they're great. Being on the YouTube channel is great for when I do episodes where I'm showing calculations or finances. That's not one of these episodes, but there will be a nice handy dandy free download at the end of this episode. So I invite you to stick around. What are we going to talk about today? Today, we're going to talk about how to get new leads without having to host another workshop. And so while I do acknowledge that workshops are super effective, I think that they're a great way for brick and mortar businesses to attract new clients. They can also be draining and time consuming, depending on how many people you actually have on your team and who's doing them and the setup time, et cetera, et cetera. So what I want to talk about today is a topic that we've been discussing pretty regularly in my inner circle mastermind, about how workshops can be draining and time consuming for some, and they don't really want to have to do them every month. So we've been talking about other marketing strategies that will help attract leads to your business. So some of our members have had a lot of luck doing quizzes for Pilates studios. We also had somebody where we had them create a QR code for a coffee shop. We're tracking that. And then also different things in terms of ads. All right. But what today we're going to talk about is really like how you can generate new leads without hosting another workshop. So let's talk about the cost of doing a workshop. Now, some of you might be like, well, it's free. It doesn't cost me anything. But it does cost you your time for most of you. So there's a time commitment involved where you have to prep for the workshop. You have to find a like-minded business to collaborate with, or you have to find a space to do it. If you're going to do it outside, you have to market and promote this workshop, email delivery, pre and then post workshop, the energy expenditure it requires for you to actually put on the workshop and teach. If there is any financial investment, like if you do flyers or you pay a copywriter to write your emails or you buy smoothies or something like that, there might be a little bit of that. Okay. And then the other thing is sometimes it's just exhausting. So one of the things, sorry about that. One of the things that a lot of people say is that they're just tired, especially if you're doing one every month. That's just a lot of ramp up. If you're doing them properly, it's a lot of ramp up time, ramp down time. And then by the time you finish one, really, you're right back promoting the next one. So, how can we develop a strategy to build certain strategic partnerships that will allow you to attract leads to generate new clients without actually doing the workshop? So, how can you create a referral network of complementary businesses to your own that will help you? All right. So, a great example would be partner with a prenatal massage therapist who can also refer to your pelvic health practice, or partner with a personal trainer that specializes in pre and postnatal, and they can also refer to your pelvic health practice, or a chiropractor, or a lactation consultant, or a birthing Lamaze classes. Do they even do those anymore? I'm not sure if they do or not. But anyways, that's a great way to um, connect with a like-minded business. Another way, if you're a Pilates studio or you're a fitness concept, connecting with local corporate HR departments and try approaching them about employee wellness programs, right? So how do you actually do this? Okay. How to identify first, you want to identify potential partners, local business mapping exercise. So what you do is you're going to map you can Google it. You can honestly type it into AI that you want to do a local business map exercise where you want to find all the prenatal massage therapists within a 10-mile radius, or all of the lactation consultants within a 10-mile radius, or all of the above, basically, or local corporations that have companies of 30 or more individuals within a 5 to 10 mile radius. It really depends on what you're looking for. Okay. Then another thing you can use AI for is scripts to cold outreach. So you can ask AI, now help me prepare a email, a text, a DM to cold outreach to these organizations to potentially start a mutually beneficial collaboration. Okay. And then how are you going to construct these mutually beneficial referral incentives? Remember this phrase, give before you ask. So you want to think of how you can help them, not necessarily how they can help you, even though ultimately it's about them helping you, but it's really more about how you can help them. Right. So, for an example, maybe we're talking about reaching out to corporate wellness to offer corporate wellness in different businesses. And they don't have to be large. Sometimes the smaller businesses are actually easier to get in front of the right person. What you want to promote is how productive, how efficient employees are when they are healthy. Okay. And how can you provide those corporate wellness services for their employees? Maybe it's discounted memberships to your Pilates studio. Maybe it's they get they're going to host a corporate class once a week or once a month. There's lots of different ways that you can structure these programs, but remember, it's about how you and your services can help them and their team. All right. Another idea. So that was basically building strategic partnerships. Another idea is how can you create bite-sized content that drives interest to you, and people are always going to follow you because you have bite-sized content. All right. So basically, we call this like a micro content marketing system. So an example would be weekly, you post a movement tip Monday. All right. So every Monday, you post a movement tip that is easy for people to do. Now, again, if you have corporate wellness programs, the next best thing would be how can you have a movement tip that you can perform at your desk? Okay. Or you can have different pain point solutions, and you can create those as carousel posts. Myths about back pain, 5 simple ways to relieve acute back pain, right? Maybe it's child's pose, maybe it's breathing, maybe it's a malasana pose. Okay. There's different things that you can do that are really easy, and people will start to follow you because you're giving them information, right? So, how do you implement this? You want to batch. So I believe in batching. Not everyone does, but I believe in creating like 8 to 10 different pieces in one specific session. So it's done for like 3 months. Okay. A great way to be able to do that is think of the questions your clients are asking you all the time. How do I stretch my hamstrings? How do I stretch my calves? And you might be like, nobody really needs to be stretching their hamstrings. But again, the customer doesn't know that. So we want to give them what they want. Okay. And then eventually transition them into what they need. Okay. And then make sure that you use a call to action to convert viewers to leads. Like in this episode, I am going to give you a free download of everything I discussed. So it's going to be a checklist. And the hope will be that you opt in for the checklist, and then you eventually get on my email list, and then you learn and you learn from me, and you get to know, like, and trust me. And then eventually like, hey, maybe I'd love to join her monthly membership. All right. So that's kind of how the system works. But I'm giving you free content. I'm giving you ways that are going to help your business. So the thought process is, wow, if this is what she gives for free, imagine what the paid offer is. Okay, so you can take a workshop that you're going to do, like maybe you're going to do a workshop for um, how to stretch your hamstrings or back pain or how to alleviate back pain with Pilates. And you could create social posts that talk about movement tip Mondays. These 5 stretches are great for runners. These 5 stretches will help decrease tension in your spine. Okay. And then you could take all of that. And at the end, you could be like, want to learn how to do these in real life? Sign up for our workshop. It's possible. Okay. What about doing some lead generation, like free assessments? So this just takes us one step further, kind of like what I was just talking about. Posture and movement screens for fitness studios. So maybe you're going to do, if you're a PT clinic, you can do things like pain pattern analysis. And you can say on the first Saturday of every quarter, we are going to hold these free activities at our location. And basically, then people get into your location. They do some free assessments. And then your job, once you're there, is to convert them into paying customers to come back to work with you for specialized, individualized sessions after that free analysis. Now, you're not going to convert everyone free. All right. But you might convert, even if you get a 1% conversion rate. And let's say you did, I don't know, let's say you did 10 free assessments in a 2 hour period and you had to pay your PTs or an instructor, like, let's just say you had to pay them $200 each. So you had to pay them $100 each. Okay. So $50 an hour for 2 hours. So $200 in total, and you got one person to sign up for an assessment and then a follow-up, like you've made your money back. Okay. And then if you do that on a regular basis, then there's really, again, you're attracting people with something very, very specific. And then once they get into your establishment, you have the goal, or I'm trying to think of the word, you have now the capacity to sell them into a higher paid session. So they're going to usually have higher conversion rates because they're qualified. They're already coming to you for something that you know they want. All right. So that's how you can use free assessments. And I'm not a big believer in doing a lot of things for free, but I do believe that offering these, sometimes people don't necessarily want to learn, they want like the actual assessment. They don't want to necessarily learn, you know, how many calories do they need to drop. They want to know like what specifically do I weigh and what do I need to do in order to get to this weight. Okay. So that's something that you can consider. Now, another option would be, what about doing different challenges? Now, these are a little bit time consuming as well, just because you have to set them up properly and you have to run them properly. But if you find one that works, you can just rinse and repeat the whole process. So maybe you're going to do a 21-day mobility challenge or a pain-free desk work challenge or a prenatal hip mobility or breath work challenge. Okay. So what you do is you're going to create the challenge structure and the timeline. You create, you have to set up all the delivery methods. Like, are you going to do this via email and send out a daily email? Do you have an app that you can use? Are you going to use like a Facebook group or something to that effect? But you want to create those specific deliverables and how you're going to get that out to all of the participants. And then you can use these challenges to identify highly engaged prospects. So once they go through your challenge, especially the ones that complete it, that's where then you can invite them to opt into some sort of service that you offer. Now, again, the challenge, just like a workshop, you just have to follow a certain process. So you do enough promotion to get people in the challenge, you do enough engagement during the challenge, and you're doing enough follow up to make sure that people understand what the very, very next step is. Another way is By going strategically to different referral sources. Now, I am not a big believer in doing doctor's visits all the time, but once in a while, developing relationships with medical professionals for referrals is very viable and can be very successful. All right. So you want to focus on specialists that align with your services. I love concierge medicine doctors because those people are already paying a fee to be a patient of that physician practice. So making sure that your specialists align also with your services, and you want to position yourself as an extension of their care. So some examples, an OBGYN, pelvic health practitioners are an extension of their care. Um, Pilates instructors that have like the Red Ribbon program can partner with plastic surgeons. After women have mastectomies and plastic surgery, there's a whole program called the Red Ribbon program in Pilates that they can be an extension of their services. So again, how do you implement this? You're going to do a business mapping profile. You're going to research appropriate physicians or other professionals for which to align. And then you want to create as many contact methods as possible that bypass the gatekeepers. What are the gatekeepers? The gatekeepers are the people that keep you from getting to the decision makers. I think the office managers are quite often the best people to talk to. You can provide them with educational materials or promotional materials to provide medical offices, and then a follow-up system to maintain these relationships. This can be a monthly email like checking in, how you doing? Is there anything that you guys need? Sending a basket with a thank you card from time to time saying, thanks for the referrals. We're thinking of you. Inviting some of the team in for services, especially maybe the office manager or some of the people that really are the decision makers, inviting them in to test out a service or giving them a free month at your studio. And, the follow up, just, put it in a calendar. It's like, oh, reminder to call Jan from Dr. So-and-so's office. And you could just follow up with a text or an email, or a random delivery is a really nice thing. All right. What about referral systems or bring a buddy? Okay. So the strategy around this is, how can you systematically use your existing client base as lead generators? So these people are hot, they're warm contacts, they're buying from you. Most likely they have other people that are very similar to them that would buy from you as well. So, maybe it's like people that have private sessions. Hey, this week we're inviting everyone that does a private session to bring a buddy, and we'll transition it into a semi-private session, and that buddy gets to come for free. Or maybe if you're a PT clinic, you do something like share your recovery sessions. So maybe you, as a PT clinic, they get red light therapy or compression boots for free, and maybe you're allowing them to give their session to a buddy to come in and try it. One of the things you want to really think about is, how can you make the experience special for both people, the inviter and the invitee? Right? How can you make them feel special and warranted? And then again, you're giving before you ask. And so people are coming in, they're getting to experience it. They're doing this like during the summer. Often this is a great time to do it because usually we're all a little bit slower in the summer. So it's like, bring a friend to this class. Bring a friend to your private session this week, something like that. You could even do a special day where it's like all members get to invite a friend for free in the month of July. All right. There's something that goes along with utilizing your already happy clientele. And some of them may have some really great contacts and referrals. And it's more like, less like invite them and you'll get this referral fee. It's like, just invite them to share health and wellness with you. So it's a really good session. We actually have a policy where if someone can't attend their private session or the group class, they can send someone in their place so they don't get penalized for the cancellation. So that's something you can do too. Don't forget, you can send someone in your place if you can't make it. What a great way to gift to a friend. So let's review some of the strategies we discussed that don't include a workshop. One is strategic partnerships. Another one is doing micro content marketing, which is like creating a system of little bite-sized content that drives interest to you and your business. Lead generating free assessments. Again, I don't recommend doing these all the time unless you have the capacity. This is great, honestly, for those of you that have PTs on salary and they have gaps in their schedule. Have them do one of these. You're paying them anyways. Have them do a free posture and movement screen or a pain pattern analysis or a diastasis evaluation. Like, you're paying them anyways. They're on salary, and if they have open time, have them do these free assessments. You can have challenges. Maybe you do a coming up now, like maybe a summer challenge is a great thing, or fall, like fall back into routine. Um, Something like that. Those are great to plan. Now, when you're doing these things, you want to give yourself like 8 to 12 weeks lead time to be able to plan everything out properly. Another possibility is strategic physician outreach or other medical professional outreach, chiropractors, doulas, things of that nature. That's kind of similar to strategic partnerships, but you're actually reaching out to these specialties and trying to position yourself as an extension of their service. And then bring a buddy, client activation, bring a buddy, client referral, bring a buddy. For me, sometimes I'm like, if I'm going to, if I have a class that has 8 spots available and there's only 3 people, I'd rather teach to 8 people. So why not do something where it's like, drop in class, $10 for a drop in class for this 4 o'clock class, or you message all of those people, all the 3 people that have registered, and say they can bring a buddy for free. That's a great way. You're going to teach the class anyways, get some more people in the class. And then you're also giving those people think it's cool because you're giving them the opportunity to bring someone for free. The other people get it for free. It's a win-win-win all the way around. All right. So one of the things I'd love you to do after listening to this podcast is grab our free download. So you can grab this download by visiting www.kristagurka.com/no workshops. www.kristagurka.com/no workshops to grab this free download that has all of the implementations, the strategic benefits, et cetera, et cetera. And then one of the things I'd love for you to do is decide which strategy you're going to implement first. So don't implement all of them, but pick one and be like, okay, I'm going to implement this strategy for the next 90 days or for the next 6 months and see how that works for me. See if you can track some of your progress, see how that works. And then if it really works, can you optimize it and just repeat it? Or are you ready to try another strategy? But these are great ways that you can alternate with workshops. So you're not doing a workshop, which is a kind of a heavy lift, every single month of the year. All right. So again, go ahead and try to grab this download at www.kristagurka.com/no workshops. Or you can DM me over on Instagram and I'll be happy to drop it to you over on Instagram. I'm at Krista Gurka there. And until next time, everyone, bye for now, y'all.